Well, guess where I am now. Normally we would be probably the Fox and the Hounds, or we'd be in some bar in Eastbourne, or somewhere a little bit esoteric, but we're actually in my next guest's home, who very kindly has allowed us in, because where we were going to do it, it's Sunday, and of course it's Sunday roast coming out of their ears, and there won't be any room for us. So here I am with a very dear friend who I've known for several years now and appeared on his radio shows occasionally, the odd television show and all that, and he is an eco-warrior, he's a vegan, he's given up booze, and he occasionally, stupidly in my eyes, likes to swim in the sea that is just down there, especially when it's cold. And that is the fabulous Guy Lloyd.
Hello, Mark.
Guys,
Hi.
thanks for having us and all that. And,
Pleasure.
and opening your very, very small corridors here.
Very small, aren't they?
Betty Swallocks would not be able to get up and down that corridor. But thanks for allowing us in, because we're putting it off and all that, and here we are now. So
Yes.
tell us, Guy, what you've been up to since I last saw you. The last time I saw you was in the street, and I was doing a murder mystery.
That's right. God, that was a while back. I mean, the last time we worked together was when we did the videos, wasn't it? And it was at that garden centre. Can you remember when we had a Santa? I was dressed as a Santa, and you were dressed as a Santa,
Christmas.
and we had a Father Christmas,
Yeah.
and we had a Santa off, didn't we? As
Well,
part of
you come up with these fabulous ideas, because I've appeared on your radio as a phone-in occasionally when you were at the Juice. You haven't phoned me since you were doing the BBC, but that's another story, isn't it?
it's a different
type of show at the
Different type of
BBC,
show,
you know, because Lord Reith would not be, because I can't educate anyone, can I? At the end of the day, yes, we did. You were going to come in looking for it. You were sent from the job centre, apparently, to be their Father Christmas, but they already had one, which was me. And now do tell us about the delicious suit you were wearing on that day, because in comparison to my £1,500 suit.
Yeah, I mean, it was, for anyone seeing it for the first time, you'd think, I want that Father Christmas, not that one. So you were the clear winner. But what the whole idea was around the video series was, it was very soon after I left the radio at Juice, and I was sort of knocking around at home thinking, you know, there was no job on the horizon, and I thought, and I was quite sad about the end of the job, but I thought we can make a comedy out of this. So I did a series of videos called Videos, which is a cross between a blog and a video. See what
you did there?
Yeah.
Clever, isn't it?
And we did a whole load of comedy skits about me trying to get back into show business. So that particular episode was about me getting a gig as Father Christmas and my way back into entertainment, and then arriving at the garden centre and finding you in the grotto
Already ensconced.
already there and very hard to remove.
Well,
And you are a great Father Christmas.
Thank you very much.
I haven't met a better one.
thank you.
Is there another one? You are the one.
Well, I hate to show off. Actually, what I'll do is have a glass of that Merlot today. Thank you, Stephen. Thanks. Cheers.
Cheers.
Doesn't drink. I won an award once.
Did you?
Best Father Christmas of the Year.
Right.
Many years ago.
Yeah.
It was a financial gain, not a lot, nice.
Yeah.
And I just said to this lady who phoned up and said, it was to do with nominations.
Yeah.
So people obviously nominated you as whatever it was. So I can't remember how, I think it was about 500 quid, which is better than slap in the face.
That is good, yeah. Good one.
And Father Christmas of the Year, I can't remember what year it was, and I was thinking to myself, oh, that's good, nice to be well thought of like that, but I said to the woman on the phone, I said, I didn't know there was a competition because there's thousands of us. And not just in this country, but worldwide.
Yeah.
But I think it was because I had the real beard.
Yeah, that helps.
And when you're playing that part, you've got to be a psychologist. You've got to be everything.
I think you're very good at it in terms of, you had the beard, and I think kids can spot, I remember, can spot a fake beard. So I think a real beard is definitely a plus point. But also you had can I put this? Your personality's Father Christmas was unique.
I think it's kindness. I've often said this, so if I'm repeating myself, viewers, I'm terribly sorry about this, but I'm not Brian Blessed.
No.
Because that terrifies kids.
Yeah.
And the times when...
But equally, you're not the other way. I don't think you're overly kind and compassionate.
Oh no, I'm quite strict.
You're quite strict. You've got some Father Christmas boundaries, which I respect that.
And of course, thank you for this, because you are a father, but your son probably doesn't believe in Father Crab. What's he now?
Don't tell him that. He's 19. He still believes. Don't.
Yeah, I know what you want me to do. Is he going to be here, Chris? You want me to come round dressed up? It's pathetic.
Well,
no. If you've still, that's what I always say, Dave, you've still got the magic.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the boundaries, you would have been a very funny Father Christmas. I can see that, especially and the beard you had on was just the most horrendous.
Yeah, I didn't answer the question about the suit. So the suit was.
Yeah, that's it.
The suit was. I got the suit years ago from doing. Can you remember the superhero run we used to have in Brighton? A load of people would meet up on the seafront, dressed as superheroes, and run for 10Ks. And then that turned into, it was a charity run that I used to support on the radio. And then that turned into a Santa run. And on the Santa run, if you took part, you got a free Santa costume, which was really cheaply made, as you saw.
Yeah.
So I kept that for our little skit.
That's a few years ago. When did you leave Juice Radio then? Because
2018 it all...
So 18, 19, 20, 22, so it's about 4 years ago that Christmas.
Yeah.
We did that bit up there. I actually left there because it was taken over by another company from Wydale.
The Garden Centre.
The Garden Centre. And now I've been there a few years.
Yeah.
Well thought of by the public, which is lovely. The kids love it. I saw kids grow up. The new events manager couldn't see
the potential.
We better have a standby and all that, and we only want to do the breakfast and the teas. And I said, I'm going to go in and do breakfast, do Toss Night Before Christmas and all that. Then you're going to have somebody else in the grotto, and then me back to do the tea. And I said, that doesn't make sense.
So they were talking about having two Santas.
I said, do you think children are thick?
Madness. And also,
and I was 5 minutes away.
I'm an adult and I get bored with garden centres. I mean, I'm warming to them, but as a child, if you're going to be dragged along to a garden centre, the shining light is that Father Christmas is going to be.
They don't do it at B&Q though, do they?
No.
They don't get a ho at B&Q.
No.
You could be the B&Q though.
Do you know what? You mentioned the gig of being Santa. So I worked in a care home for the last couple of years. And as an activities coordinator, and on Christmas Day I was expected to work there, which not everybody wants.
We were trying to work out me coming over and all that, but the amount of GP.
That's right, yes.
I have now the full adult GPS.
Yeah.
I'm now working with autistic children.
Oh yeah,
they're 30 years of age with the mental health. You know what it's like at 5, and I've only just started this week, and luckily I was able to fit the film in and do some of these for my darling friend here, who we've become big chums, haven't we, over the years. Things he's had me to do is a disgrace to make a hair curl. No, mine curl if I had any. But, so I have now got that. Yeah. But you're not there anymore.
No, and, but what I was going to say is, and I'm sure you find this, the last couple of Christmases I've gone to the care home on Christmas Day, and dressed up as Father Christmas and gave out presents to the elderly.
Lovely.
And obviously they're in on the Santa secret, but it still brings a lot of joy.
Oh, absolutely.
To them, and that's the whole point, isn't it? And I enjoyed. I'd just be going around the rooms, putting on my Santa voice, ho ho ho, Merry Christmas.
I know. I've seen.
Is it a fat suit there? Because the trouble is with me, I'm a skinny, and you've lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, but I've got the fat belly you can have as well. You can buy.
That comes with
but
the suit.
I got told off. Now listen to this.
Yeah.
When I was over at another place called Bone Nameless, and you know who you are, I had the flu jab last year, and it knocked me for sick. COVID, not a problem at all. Flu jab was nice to do. I couldn't speak.
Yeah.
It really knocked me for sick. So I was able to go back to do my clinical work in COVID. That was fine because I didn't really have to speak to anyone. But talking to children with a hoarse voice and feeling really ropey wasn't good. And several parents would say to me if I was going to the loo with that, because I didn't wear it because I'm sitting down. oh, you're very, very thin for a Father, or Santa, Father Christmas. I don't like being called a female saint. And I would say, well, the fact is that I am dead against obesity in children. And if you're going to have somebody sitting there that is talking about mince pies and shortbread and all this sort of stuff, and sweets and so on and so forth, and sitting there the size of a house, and I mean, some of the children I had at 4 or 5 years of age were huge. And it wasn't being political about it. I just wanted to ensure that my feelings were for the right reasons, or may not be as the vision is right for. The man that when I left, said we ran the place, was so rude to me, and was listing all the things. I've been doing this for years. I said, I know how to play Father Christmas. You just go and run your garden.
Yes.
Don't tell me how
to
to. Yeah, leave it to. And I hate the word, because I've said it so many times. I hate the word professional as an actor and all that. It's a job like you're a professional radio presenter, but it's something you enjoy doing. So anything you enjoy doing is a hobby to me. It's not work.
It's a privilege to be
in that situation.
Yeah.
Now let me just go on to that, because I remember I did several shows, always with a bit of innuendo, because it was on a phone. And it was all some really weird
subjects.
You'd come up when I'd be listening to you in the morning, because you were on in the morning, weren't you?
Started out on the breakfast show and did, well, I did the weekend show, and then things quickly developed. Did drive.
And that's how we met, because I came in to see you with Alistair Locke, who was one of the...
That's right. I did one of the... We used to be in the Maydays together, improvised a comedy group.
Yeah.
And then I think within a year or so, being introduced to doing bits and bobs, I got the breakfast show. This is probably when we first got you on. We did 5 years of that with Andrew.
With the lady, I couldn't remember it. But I was in there with Alistair, and Alistair was asked to read a piece, because it hadn't been fully recorded, for you to transmit, and of course he backed it up live. And I said, don't worry, I said, it won't be like that, Guy. We didn't use that particular expletive on air. But yeah, that was the first time I actually came across you face to face, flesh to flesh.
Yes, and a face that's wasted on the radio, I think you'd agree.
I'd like to look into that camera.
Sure.
Oh, you get it. This is
awkward silence.
Yes, it is.
Awkward.
We'll do it this way. It's just a face.
What was good about doing the breakfast show? So in those days.
It was before I was married, so I've been married 13 years, so before I was married.
Before that, I think
15 years ago.
So I came to Brighton in 99, sort of made the decision I wanted to get into radio around about a year later, and then finally got a show in 2005 at Juice.
So it might have been that first... been a bit later, that would have been about 2007, I think.
Yeah. But what was great about... I mean, there was... I guess what was good and what was bad about doing the breakfast show was that it's the biggest show on the station, and I specifically remember at any station it's always the one that gets the most.
Or Zoe does hers.
Zoe Ball does Radio 2, and it's always the show that gets the most listeners, because people are waking up, people set their alarms, the radio comes on.
Sammy Wogan, God knows how many years he did.
Amazing, and and that's the peak time. The downside, so when I remember walking past Juice around about 2000, when I made the decision I wanted to get into radio.
Which was in North Street, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I remember walking past the door and thinking, I'm going to work there one day and I'm going to do the breakfast show. And I was so determined to get it. And when it finally came, and it was a dream come true, but the flip side of that was that I was never, and I'm still to this day, not, even when I have been drinking for 4 years, I'm not a morning person. So to get up at 4 o'clock, get down there and be on air at 6 o'clock and be the life and soul, it was,
And how many years did you do the breakfast?
5 years we did it. And the other thing that goes with the territory when you're on the breakfast show, you get invited to a lot of parties, and you get tickets for this and that, and
Well, remember, I was a casting director. I got invited to so many things. I was pissed.
Yeah.
24/7.
Well, exactly, and that was a problem. And there was definitely a couple of breakfast shows where I came straight into the studio from a night out, and I was still drunk.
That's what they call a professional drinker.
Yes. I'm not proud of.
Goer.
I'm not proud of it now, but looking back, it's like, well, coming from a social care background, which is what I did up until the age of, it's really exciting to be doing this dream job, being invited to everything.
And one thing I may say so about Guy, and I'm sure you will agree, you don't have an ego. You're not that celebrity. I know that you we'll get onto that other little.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is the person I know is Guy.
Yeah.
You're not the big I am type, because there's a lot of them around out there who haven't got anywhere near to the status of appearing on the radio like you have done, certainly on the Breakfast Show, even in film and television, and they haven't quite gone up a few of those rungs.
Yeah.
And actually have the most awful attitude. You don't have that attitude.
It's nice of you to say that. I think there was definitely a point where my ego was getting out of control towards the end, which we can maybe talk about later. But I so it sort of coincided with my problems with addiction and getting sober. But I think I had everyone around me, including my family and friends, they weren't impressed. They were very supportive, but they weren't impressed about me being on the radio. So every time I would sort of come home or go to a family gathering and like, guess who I interviewed this week, and showing off.
Yeah, name dropping.
Name dropping. They would always sort of knock me down a peg or two, and they weren't very impressed. So people around me kept me grounded, but it's very hard to keep me grounded because I'm quite a flighty kind of guy, and I get very excited.
Flighty and fun.
Flighty and fun.
That's it, and with no malice. Right, so after, you did Juice. That's a shame it moved on and all that. But didn't you go to the BBC for a period, or you're still out there occasional? Yeah,
I started doing stuff with them in the last year at Juice, because I was freelance at Juice, you see. So it was great in a lot of ways, because I was able to do other stuff. I check in with them out of courtesy and just say, can I do this, this and this? I used to, work latest TV and stuff. And they're all like, fine, do what you like, So I started doing some stuff at BBC, and I still do,
That's BBC Radio Sussex.
Yeah, BBC Radio Sussex. They'll call me up every now and again to cover, or I do a series called Raising Teens, which is all about sort of dealing with some of the issues that teenagers have to deal with these days, which is really interesting, like a panel show, chat show, no music. So yeah, I'm always sort of poised, ready to go with them. And I do my Slack City show, which is the radio station that my old boss at Juice has launched in Brighton, which is voluntarily run, so I don't get paid for it, but I get to play all the music I love. I do 2 hours on a Saturday afternoon. Just started getting guests in. So I'm really enjoying that, and just sort of, keep it.
I could do with Desert Island Discs there.
Well, that's the sort of format. I'm getting people in to talk about what they're up to. I had an author in this weekend.
Well, I'll be happy to reciprocate if you require.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'll keep it clean.
Yeah. Well, will you?
You've got a filthy mind like I have. You might not say it, but I'll come straight out with it anyway, don't I, Stephen? Don't agree with me, thank you. Yeah, so that's great that you've got that, and even, doing shows for Stephen occasionally, you don't get paid for doing it, but that's the fact that, I enjoy doing them anyway, and it keeps his small company, Zalika, up with new stuff coming out and all. It's doing well, isn't it? You're doing quite a few. I mean, I must bore a lot of people to do this, people have said that already, when you have to go back on shows. God knows how you did it on a daily basis on radio. I'm repeating myself, and what did I say that yesterday, or was that the day before, or did I say that last week, or whatever, it's that sort of situation that I found difficult. But I think if you're in an interview position like this is, and you're talking to somebody completely different, invariably it doesn't cross over.
Yeah, the thing is, if I'm doing a 4-hour show 5 days a week for 13 years, of course I'm going to repeat myself. But people don't listen to my show 4 hours a day, 5 days a week for 13 years.
That's like a dip in a bit.
Pick a mix. Dip in and dip out.
I had it on every morning. The juice show.
Bless you, yes.
Yeah, because and if I was driving, I'd have juice. The only problem is, if I went out the area, you couldn't hear juice, which was a pain, because you then get some other crap coming on, like
I think it went as far as Worthing, that way.
Yeah, you get in Worthing.
And maybe going that way, you'd sort of.
I think it
past Peacehaven, you'd probably lose it after Peacehaven, that kind of way. Might just get it in Seaford. I think my mum could just about pick it up in Seaford. She lives there. Hi, Mum.
Good work, yeah. Hello, Mum. What's your mum's name?
Bridget.
Hello, Bridget. Auntie Mark. Bona Queen Fabulous.
Can you say hello to my Auntie Sue as well?
Hello, Auntie Sue.
She's in Australia.
Hello, darling. How are you too? Are you in Mooney Ponds or somewhere like Melbourne?
Perth.
Oh, Perth. I think I knew somebody in Perth. For some reason.
Is that your day at Nurbridge?
Occasionally. I can't. But because my register's gone so low now,
yeah, I
can't do it as high pitched as Barry. Barry does it.
It's very good. I mean, I spotted it quite early there.
Yeah, you know.
I thought it was Carl.
It always ends up being Kenneth Williams, you know, and all that.
Oh, that's good.
Right now, I'm still listening about. But that's my party piece done, so cut that. Because I'm going to mention, so I'm talking about alternative egos.
So here we go. I know where this is going.
It's time for me to get my own back after. I remember you had left the radio, you were doing the odd BBC, you started working for Latest TV, which is our local
TV channel.
TV channel, which is highly repetitive, let's just put it that way, enough said. On its output, although it does have a lot of really old films from the TV Talking Pictures people that come on, which is great because that's giving them a format to show such old black and white movies from the day, so it's superb. But you did a couple of shows for them, didn't you?
Yeah. Yes.
You did the news as well, you read the news a lot.
I did the news towards the end. I mean, the best thing I did on that channel, and everyone seemed to really enjoy it, and even actually I went to a book launch on Friday and someone came up to me and said, I love that show you did when you used to go around Brighton asking people what their news was. It's called...
Was that with the sofa in the middle of the street?
We brought the sofa in towards the end. So how it started was, I just had an idea. I sat in the garden one night drinking wine, a bit pissed, was thinking ideas for a programme, and I came up with the idea of just going up to strangers in the street and just saying, what's your news? And as soon as we did it, I knew it was a winner because people were, not everybody talked to me, but most people unbelievably would go straight into whatever was going on in their life. And some of it was quite traumatic and some of it was lovely and joyful. And and
it wasn't just for comedy value. It had a sense to it and a real raison d'etre to it, didn't it?
I had to, as soon as I asked that question and people responded, I had to be ready. I had to be
for whatever was going to
exactly, and some of it was quite heavy. So, but people really seemed to enjoy it, and it was, you know, I think all my years of working in social care, working with different types of challenging people, I felt experienced enough to sort of deal with, people's stories, I guess, or whatever came back at me. And people really enjoyed that show. And so we sort of developed it into, the idea was we were just going to plonk a sofa somewhere in town in Brighton and then just get people to sit down and have a chat, you know, sort of like we're doing now, really. And we did a few pilots, but it never got past that, unfortunately. I think it was more of a financial thing. The idea seemed to work, but financial.
Well, I do think that is a major problem with the local station. I've got great affection for it, because I've appeared on your show, I've appeared on Andrew Kay's several shows he's had and all that, Mike Mendoza, all that. And what happens is, although you've got a back catalogue of stuff there that goes back to when it started, but how long has it been running now? It's quite some time now, isn't it? It's about 7-8 years.
Yeah, when I was doing stuff, so they were online for a while, and I remember covering Fat Boy's gig on the beach and Shakedown and all that in the mid-noughties, and then they got the TV licence, and then we did like the chat show with Miller. sadly no longer with us.
Yeah.
So I was doing latest TV as long as I was doing Juice, really, but I wasn't doing the proper TV, regular sort of shows until a bit later on.
Well, I think what the problem with it now is it's financial. And they can't make as well. They do the news and all that, but that's sometimes 5 days in advance.
Yeah.
But they do. I know Andrew. We did a Marc and Chums with Andrew, and he was saying that he does his entertainment thing from home now.
Yeah.
So which I mean, all the technology is so advanced these days.
Yeah.
And you can edit it yourself. You can do all that. But the only problem is there's no new product going out there. What people are just seeing the same stuff over and over again. Which is a shame because look, your show sitting in the street and all that and talking to people would be these days a winner. Certainly after what we've been through the last 3 years.
Yeah, do you know, if I could, I'd still probably do it. And I'm still thinking about doing it as a podcast or something, maybe as an audio thing. In the end, it just came down to money, and the same thing happened at Juice. Juice had to sell in the end because they weren't making enough money commercially, and the owner had to take the deal when it was offered to him. And I think latest TV, I'm sure, had the same struggles with, they to keep a channel going like that in a local market when there's so much competition with, over the last 20 years, streaming channels like Netflix and Disney and all the rest have popped up. So they've got so much more competition, and to get something like that successful and have lots of fresh new programs, you need money because people won't do it for free. I mean, some do. We've done that, but
we've done that
on a regular basis. It needs income.
We've offered that, it's anything that, should we say, slightly untoward can be cut out.
Yes.
It's all that because I'm always effing and blinding.
But it's still. I think it's still good that latest TV can cover, the big events that are happening in Brighton. They're still, I think, at the forefront of Pride and things like that.
Yeah, they did all that.
I know a lot of people that still.
But sometimes you then see, pre-pandemic, you see that they're transmitting Pride programs that were made pre-pandemic, and of course they didn't have anything else to show because there was no Pride. I used to be the artistic director of Pride back in the day until I found out I wanted to know where all this charity money was going, and it wasn't going to charity.
Right.
And I resigned. I was front page of the Argus.
Were you?
I had a bra on. On page 3 of the Argus, put it that way. And I got really bad press from a lot of people in the gay community because I resigned, and I said, well, I can't put my name to something that in fact is not what it says it's doing. And of course then it's all become so commercialised anyway. I wouldn't be interested in being involved. Good thing, if everyone wants a party, that's great, but it's nothing to do with being gay or anything like that anymore. It's everyone just dressing up, which brings me to something that you do occasionally. Dressing up. I don't want to bring up the subject of Britain's Got Talent, but...
But you just have.
I just have. I did, for latest TV, you did one of the more, shall we say, avant-garde thoughts, creation.
Oh yes, I know.
And asked on one occasion would I appear in one of these. I don't know how many. I made 3. Did you make something like that? I can't remember.
I think we did about 6 or 8 episodes.
I can't remember.
It's all on YouTube.
Yeah. And this one was particularly where we have already done one at Peter's, who you introduced us to, the singing barber.
Peter the Barber singing.
Yeah, and we did.
Do you know he sang with Rod Stewart last night?
I know, I saw it on the telly. And the fact is, then asked after I did the one with you, I can come back and have it done properly. Because I didn't have the shave, or I had all that, but we did one called The Shaving, and we're doing another one end of the month, The Shaving 2. Which is going to be part of the new film making of Marc and Chums of Kestrel House.
Okay.
So, but through that's down meeting Peter. But you called me and said, "Oh, Mark, do you fancy having a haircut?" I was going for that, all trimmed nicely and all that. Didn't get round to that. I had what was called a face buff.
Yes.
And what was odd about it, Peter was there to instruct Guy here, but it wasn't Guy. It wasn't Guy Lloyd at all. Who was it, Guy?
You're talking about my close personal friend Vince Venus, aren't you?
Vince Venus, wasn't it? In the Bone of Drag.
Yeah. So Vince was created in 2015, shall we say. And
created is the word.
Yeah, I got a call one day at the radio station from a friend of mine that had been on The X Factor. And she was given a job by the producers of Britain's Got Talent to find new talent in Brighton. So she rang the radio station and said, do you know any talented people in Brighton? I said, no, only me. And she said, what's your talent? And I instinctively, almost like, it was like Tourette's almost. I went,
yeah.
I can sing a Queen song in a gold catsuit. Just came out like that. Little do I know that
You'd be booked to go.
months later.
It's all you know, it's all a bit false, this Britain's Got Talent stuff. I've had so many friends who have been in the profession for a long time, and they're just called in to sort of fill up spaces to make it funny.
Well, yeah. What happened was after that. Cut along the story, because there was a lot before I got to the stage of actually being on the show in front of the judges, meeting Anton Deck and all the rest of it. Lots of interviews and back and forth. But what became clear during that whole period was that they wanted to use me because they saw a married man, a heterosexual man in a gold catsuit who couldn't sing to save his life, anything.
Even Happy Birthday.
Even Happy Birthday, struggle with.
Yeah.
And I saw it as this would be great fun, great opportunity, and something to talk about on the radio. And as the time got nearer, and it was looking like it was going to happen that I'd be on the show. Well, I started to be a bit wary because these shows can chew you up and spit you out. You know.
Oh, they do.
So I spoke to a friend of mine who you might know, Annabelle Giles.
Oh yes, she's a friend of mine.
Lovely woman who appeared on I'm a Celebrity.
Yeah.
And I said, it looks like I'm going to be on BGT. What advice would you give me, having done these celebrity shows, reality shows? And she said,
don't.
Well, one, she said, don't look desperate. It was too late for that, because I clearly was. The second bit of advice was really good. She said, don't go as yourself, create a character. Because what they'll want to do is they'll want to get your backstory. And they used to call me and sort of say, so have you had any tragedy in your life? And they wanted the whole... And
we've heard this before somewhere, haven't we? From a certain person who makes this.
Well, I was like, I don't... You know, I'm not going down that road. And then when Annabelle said, like, come up with another identity, that's when I came up with Vince Venus, which was directly inspired by Freddie Mercury, planetary thing. I'm a big Freddie Mercury fan, big Queen fan. So I came up with Vince Venus.
But sort of Ziggy Stardust as well, you had all that wonderful makeup on.
Well, I describe Vince Venus as if it was biologically possible for Freddie Mercury and David Bowie to have a child. Vince would have been the child.
Yeah.
And so I was sort of, once I became Vince, I felt much safer. And then when I went on the show, and that was my cover, as it were. So they didn't really find anything about me. And then I did the show, and then all hell broke loose, really.
How long were you actually on stage?
This is the thing. I think if you see, the clip is on YouTube, right, of just me murdering a Queen song very quickly.
Which we can't use because of copyright.
Yes, Anton Deck said it was the quickest exit they've ever seen.
Guy, I love you very much indeed. Can I just tell you something? I absolutely wet myself.
Well, a lot of people
thought it was the funniest thing. He does that.
And
he's off.
I literally sang "I Want to Break Free."
Yeah, and that was it.
And it was 4 buzzers
all at the same time.
Simultaneously. It was really late at night.
I think that was all. That was going to happen.
It was going to happen, and because when the producers said, like, what are you going to do on stage? I said, well, I'm going to sing the song, and then I'm going to walk down to the judges. I'm going to sit on David Williams' lap, and I'm going to give him a lap dance. And so they obviously thought this guy's trouble, and they told the judges, just buzz him off, just get him off stage.
Get him off as quick as possible.
We do want him on stage because we think the gold catsuit and everything, it would be good for the show, and that's exactly what happened. So we both sort of, it ended well for both of us. And I think the thing was, with Britain's Got Talent, you've either to get on the show itself, because bear in mind I was there for 14 hours in a room full of lots of other hopefuls, some of them probably quite mentally unwell. The thing is, to get on that show, you've either got to be amazing or you've got to be really bad. They don't go for middle ground. So it worked really well that I was really bad. And the reason why I think, apart from being buzzed off really quickly, when I came off stage, Ant and Dex said, "That was really quick, wasn't it?" And I said, "Yes." And I said, "I've been here for 14 hours." And they burst out laughing. And I think that was the moment where the producers thought, we've got to put that in the show. And then, obviously it was pre-recorded. I didn't know for weeks what was going to happen. And then we started to watch the series. And you know, it has the montage. Next week on Britain's, and I just saw my face flash up. And I thought, oh God, it's happening.
Is it? Honest with you, all those shows I can't fucking bear them. But if I know there's a chum on it, I've got to watch it.
Yeah.
Right? But I'll only watch the bit they're in.
Yeah.
We recently did, which we can't use at the moment for contractual reasons. Put it that way. They had gone on, there was a group of them going on as a particular form of act, and all the ones in it, and there was all different performers, but all doing the same sort of thing. I won't go into great detail, but the one that I interviewed was actually quite stoic about the whole thing, but all the other ones thought, this is going to make us. No, it's not. They'll all go back to what you normally do as your individual acts, and that'll be it. It's literally the old Andy Warhol 15 minutes of fame.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, because, remember Rylan? Rylan went on, I think it was the X Factor.
One of those.
And he wasn't a particularly great singer, but he was very entertaining and he had a great personality, that was clear. And he's now everywhere, he's on TV and on radio.
Well, do you know what, he does that cinch advert, I wouldn't cinch anything at all, and no offence to him, I know he's had a lot of problems in recent times.
Yes.
He does a harp and all that, and it's an awful thing for me to say, I can't bear him, because it's a bit like when Peter Davison came out of All Creatures Great and Small, became Doctor Who, and then Champion, and then all this other, familiarity actually starts to breed contempt. You think, you're in everything. Even there's an advert on at the moment, his mum's on it, and she put it in the thing, she actually said, but you're in everything.
Yeah.
But what's that with that running you were doing?
I did sign up for Brighton Marathon 1 year. I didn't have to sign up, I said I'd do it, and then I met someone about what that would involve training wise, and then I thought, nah.
Sod that. Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I do like running, but sea swimming is my thing all year round. I've been doing that, so this will be my third winter going through.
Do you know where my husband works? I don't know where you go swimming. Where do you do the pier?
Around the volleyball courts at Yellow Wave.
Oh yeah,
opposite Concord.
You go down a bit further to the pier. My husband runs the beach cafe, which is the old police box.
Yeah.
At the start of the now renamed Palace Pier. Thank goodness. So you can always go there. Be there Christmas Day.
Yeah, I do. Christmas Day is tradition in Brighton, isn't it, for a lot of people? But I
just have to look at it and feel cold.
I'm not a fan of the cold, and I'm not a fan of winters, really. I was born in New Zealand, so, I'm probably... It's in my blood to be sort of more comfortable around warmer climates, but...
the Kiwi fruit.
Yeah, but I started in 2018, I guess, with my brother, who started it first, and I came with him, and it was just so invigorating and so refreshing, and I loved it instantly. And then I got all the gear, like the gloves and and I've been doing it ever since. And when I moved to Kent Town, and the clocks have just gone back an hour, so I was going in the dark at 7 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was going down, and I moved to Kent Town, so I was going to Kent Town Beach and swimming at 7 in the morning. And the only other nutters that are down there at that time
I'm glad you said it.
Our other sea swimmers, so you invariably kind of get chatting to people. Then I discovered this whole group of swimmers called the Kent Town Kipsters. And I joined them and they've become very dear friends. We all swim together, we go camping together, we socialise together. So it's much more fun to do with other people. But it's highly addictive. It's the cold water. And now, like before I met you this morning, I had a cold shower. Like if I can't get in the sea, I'll have a cold shower. But I mean, it's.
But I noticed I was,
it took off during lockdown.
Yeah, but I noticed I was having to have a look, because I was very proud of our young chap who won Eurovision this year.
Yeah, he was great, wasn't he?
And he was on a YouTube or something on Facebook yesterday, which I was watching, doing exactly, but in a lake, but doing exactly what you were doing. I mean, he said cold water's the best thing for me.
He didn't win Eurovision though, did he?
Well,
in our hearts he did. Didn't Ukraine won, didn't they?
Ukraine won
came second.
purely by the sympathy vote. I'm going to be honest about it. Yeah, fabulous. At the time of it, because I was involved with Eurovision many years ago with Katie Boyle, God rest her soul, darling. And I can tell you, Bucksmith, that was who I was involved with, I can tell you, the sympathy votes are all very well and good, but I said, as it was coming through, knowing that they would win, I said, I can tell you who's going to be hosting it. Even before it was announced, a few months later, UK's going to host it, there's no two ways about that. But I thought he did a brilliant job.
He was great. Very likeable, good voice.
Yeah, good, fabulous. But he was doing, you're diving into cold water. Who was he with? Another celebrity, saying how invigorating it was to go into this cold water. And I'm sitting there almost putting another duvet on the bed.
Oh, it's so good. And the joy.
Good for the skin though, surely.
It's good, it's good. It's mental health more than anything. I mean, I think there's a physical, I don't go in there and like swim lengths and lengths and lengths, because when it gets to midwinter, the most I can do, because I've got very little body fat.
Apart from the amount of chocolate and crisps.
The chocolate and crisps I'm stuffing away.
And that was just this morning.
No, just this morning. But I can probably do, when the water is at its coldest, I'll probably do about 5 or 6 minutes in there at the most. And then I have had mild hypothermia before when I've been in there too long. So you've got to be really careful. You've got to...
And you also get something which is known as Raynaud's syndrome, which is where all your fingers go completely blue.
Well, that's why I wear the gloves, because it's the extremities.
And certainly in this... I mean, I was out with Betty the other day, and she had a jumper on, and I had a jacket on and all that. I go, Christ almighty, that's somewhere under the armpits again.
Yeah.
And this is just coming up now. We're recording this just about Halloween time. It is so warm.
Very warm.
So does that actually make the sea warmer still?
Yes.
Because the temperature has maintained its way through, so it's not going to reduce suddenly.
Well, this is the thing, you see. The reason why cold water swimmers love cold water swimming is that it's cold water. That's the clue.
Now that makes total sense. I would never have thought of that.
So in the summer, it's lovely, and it feels like a jacuzzi to us, whereas average Joe like yourself.
Well, I can just imagine they get into a hot bath or they go into a heated swimming pool, they must shit themselves.
Exactly, yes.
It's too warm.
Because the reason we do cold water swimming is to get that hit of cold water. So
and you do get quite. I remember doing it on occasion in my youth. I was a bit larger then, so I had a bit more fat to spare on the the insulation part. And it is weird. It's that first and then after that you seem to warm up.
It's euphoric. It's a lovely feeling. So this time of year, right? So what's going on at the moment is the water and the outdoor temperature is warmer than what we're used to. It's 19 degrees yesterday. So it makes it more pleasant. It's still cold in there, you still won't get the average swimmer in there, but it's more pleasant coming out and getting changed, because that's where it gets, that's the bit that everyone hates, because you're faffing around, you're not completely dry, you're trying to get your jeans on, you're shaking a little bit. That's not fun. So
I think that's why my husband, he doesn't own, he has 5 coffee shops that he runs, although he works for Legal in General. Cash owns all those coffee shops on the front, lovely. You can always go get a freebie, just say, your Auntie Mark's friend, and all that. You'll know who you are anyway. on the telly. But they always open Christmas and Boxing Day early.
Yeah.
Because these arseholes, no, they're not. You want to keep fit, it's what they want to do, that's fabulous. I actually get cold watching them. But he's always there ready with hot coffee and all that, whatever you want. And I'm wondering, if you come out of that after 6 minutes in the freezing cold, you know, with damp knickers and damp jeans on and all that business, what happens when you have a hot coffee? Does it sort of put you into shock?
No, and that's one of the things. So I've invested in a dry robe. So they're the big long coats you see people wearing around Brighton. So that is like literally just sort of slipping into a duvet. And then you are advised to take a flask of hot water. So the first thing you should do when you get out of cold water is get dry, get warm, and one of those things is to have a hot drink.
You've got to ensure that your core temperature is not going to go down.
Yeah, and it's not for everyone, but I tend to come home and run a hot bath, or because it can stay with you for the rest of the day. You know when your bones get cold and they feel cold for the rest of the day. I tend to come back and have a hot shower, a hot bath, and then it just goes, and I just feel amazing. So I'll be see-through for the rest of my days. I've no doubt about it, and I'll always want to live by the coast. Even if I move away from Brighton, I think I'll always be by the coast.
Do you feel that you want to move away at all? Because you're originally from New Zealand.
Originally from New Zealand, and I've got a passport to go back if I wanted. My son is here, you know, and it's a long way. I think
19-year-old.
19
you
years old.
You wouldn't believe
No,
you wouldn't believe
don't look
it,
old
would
enough.
you? You know.
I think
you've got a bit of grey hair, but nothing. Look at the state of this. Look, I used to have hair that colour. What do you dye? Do you dye it?
No, don't say that. It's not dyed. Categorically say it's not dyed. But
I can just see her doing the L'Oreal colour trophy, darling. You know what I mean? No, I used to have a great hair like yours, but of course it's all gone. My little folic cells have decided not to produce melanin.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If anyone out there wants to, get me to advertise their hair colouring business, I'm available. But what I would say, this is perfectly natural. Going back to the Brighton thing, I sort of only just realised recently that Brighton is the longest that I've lived anywhere. So it's been...
So where were you before Brighton?
23 years. So prior to that I was in Nottinghamshire. I had 5 years living in Sydney on my New Zealand passport. And then prior to Australia I was in Nottinghamshire again and Lincolnshire. So I came over from New Zealand when I was 18 months old.
Oh, so that's why
British
you haven't got an Antipodean type vocal?
No, and that's why I got the passport but not the accent. And then parents both British, so raised in Lincolnshire and Nottinghamshire. But I have for the first time started to think I could live away from Brighton. Because I love it, but it's also, it's quite pricey, it's quite expensive.
It's got...
living.
Well, you know, when I was a casting director, my company was good turnover, all that. I haven't got a beat now.
Yeah.
And I don't miss it. As long as I can have a pack of bags, meet good friends, see my old chum here, do some silliness and all that, make sure my dog's all that. I'm married to my husband, we don't live together. He lives near the I-360 because he's allergic to dog hair. What did he get me, a dog?
I thought you were going to say he's allergic to you then for a second.
No, he's not. He's not. He's...
Have you considered that you might be an allergy?
Do you know, I might actually consider asking him that. Well, why don't you do one of your shows, get him on? Because he wanted some video of us from our wedding and all that, which I had at the parlour, the mayor's parlour, because I was doing charity work for them at the time and got it for nothing, which is fabulous. We haven't quite seen what he's going to do with that, but my husband would never want to do one of these. It's Costa Rica, but he was educated in Newark, New Jersey, in America, so he's got that slightly weird...
So I'm from Newark in Nottinghamshire.
I did a film in Nottingham for John Hurt.
Ah, love John Hurt.
Oh, when these people came to me.
Another impression. Very good.
Sorry. Part of my craft. But I'm not going to do impressions of Vince Venus, I can tell you that.
Yeah. But you know, I have It is about the people, isn't it? Brighton is about the people. Where I live now, I'm near the sea. I've got the Downs behind me. I'm going for a walk on the Downs immediately after this interview. But it is the people. You know, my mum lives here. My brother lives here. When my son comes back from Manchester,
what's he doing at the moment?
He's doing psychology.
Good for him.
So, you know, I've got a lot, and I've got a lot of history here, a lot of happy memories, some sad ones too, but I could probably arguably have a better lifestyle elsewhere in terms of my money. What I earn might go further.
Yeah.
But would I have the same group of people and the uniqueness of Brighton?
That's the consideration.
I probably wouldn't.
You know,
you could go up north, couldn't you, and live in Doncaster, really cheaply, but you'd be miserable.
Yeah, it's occasionally I was considering this, and no offence, boys and girls, there's one or two tossers down here in Brighton. Better the devil you know.
Yeah.
Because although, you know, certainly with my career, put it that way, in Brighton, when I was a casting director, they were all over me like a rash.
Yeah.
When you're poor and we're doing jobbing like we do and all that, interested. Until, Guy, they want something.
Until they want something.
And then I'm quite hedonistic, and I would always forgive.
Yeah.
But in that forgiveness, and you then offer the olive branch out to them again, what I then do say to them, in my mind's eye, this is your last chance. Or, let's go and have another go. Let's be friendly. There's no point, there's too much angst in the world as it is.
Yeah.
And when my friends die, we've had this on several shows, and I've lost so many, certainly this year, you know, Renee and all my other chums have passed away, but they're all in their 90s, and I'm not surprised. I can't say the Queen was my
you weren't
friend,
close.
you know what I mean? Yeah, but we
that generation.
we have the same sort of thing in hats. And she, when Rennie died and all that, she went up to bed. Didn't wake up. That's where I want to go. But it's people from years ago when I was casting down here, and friends like Peggy and all that, and some other chums here who've lost husbands, gay or otherwise, in Brighton, still mourn these people.
Yeah.
And I said, that's understandable. Totally understand it all the time. But celebrate the life. You can't do anything about bringing them back. So morning day, you're stressing yourself out and all that. Celebrate what you had.
Yes.
You know, and that is the best advice I can give. I actually mourn my dogs more than I do human beings.
I completely resonate with that. I think I have a deep connection with animals, particularly dogs. And it's not that I don't get upset about humans dying. But I
get upset, but I don't actually make a, you can't do anything about it. Here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah, but what terrifies me, I'd love to get a dog, but at the same time, what terrifies me about getting a dog is losing it, because I know. I mean, I know that would break me.
My husband got Lad for me. I already had a dog, Magnum, and he was a rescue from Shoreham, and they just opened the new Shoreham. What used to be called the Canine Defence League, the Dogs Trust. So I saw Magnum. I just said, "I'll have him." Well, he died at the age of 21.
Wow.
But my husband got Lad. And Magnum died in bed with me, just sit like that, I won't cut, and of course the other dogs tried to I said, it's gone dear, it's gone there. Perfectly alright the night before. Had a bit of a lump there and all that. Did all that. And the fact is, yes, I've said this so many times to Stephen, I'm sorry if I'm boring you, darling. My bookshelf looks like Stephen King's Pet Cemetery. Because it's full of boxes of ashes and dogs that I had.
Oh, that's nice that you keep.
And they're all going to come with me when it's mine. But I actually want to give myself away. My friend Rennie, when she died earlier this year, she was the continuity supervisor of Things Like Brief Encounter. That's how long she'd been doing film. She wanted to have all the flesh taken off her bones and then all stuck together as a skeleton and put in a museum.
Well, did that happen?
No.
No. I say it's quite difficult to do, isn't
it? It was quite diminutive, so it wouldn't have taken much nitric acid to get rid of all that. You know what I mean? But I think the family who lived in the States thought better of it. But No, I want to give my body to my school. Have a go at that lot then, don't dissect frogs, dear. Have a go at me. So what are you going to do? What's your aspirations for, the fact of possibly wanting to move on somewhere else? I can understand that. But you're happy where you are, you have family here. What do you feel professionally you want to do, to use that dreadful expression, or any aspects of going into something else that you may not have actually got quite here to think about it, just because your mind's always going. I know you well, because you just literally have the cogs going all the time.
Yeah, I think I've definitely come out of a period of a lot of personal things have gone on in my life, and I've gone through addiction issues, and so the creativity in me kind of got stunted for a while, and then lockdown happened and we all found ourselves twiddling our thumbs.
But we were all in the same boat, really.
Yeah, all in the same boat. I found it very extreme, that period, and now I feel like I'm sort of coming out of that and ideas are starting to surface again. I mean, where I'm really interested in going, and what kind of puts a bit of sparkle back in my eyes, and what I'm really enjoying at the moment, is comedy, stand-up comedy. And
well, you make me laugh.
Thanks. And at the moment I'm just hosting a monthly night down at Artista on Waterloo Street in Hope. But I love doing that, and I've started writing.
What night's that?
It's a Tuesday. I do the first Tuesday of the month. We have 15 comedians who do 5 minutes each, and I host. So I'm talking to the audience, warming them up, getting to know them, and I'll try out a bit of my own material. I've written a few jokes. So my immediate aspirations is to write and perform a 1-hour comedy show, I think, with pure stand-up. I've done similar things before, but used a lot of visual aid and video clips, stuff that we did, and videos. And I just want to do pure stand-up, me, a microphone and an audience. And that's
fantastic.
And podcasts, this kind of thing I'd like to do more of, and perhaps bring back the 2-minute telly show in some format and go and interview the people of Brighton. I'm talking to someone at the moment about doing some sort of stunts and skits and tricks and that kind of thing in Brighton, sort of trigger happy kind of stuff. So I'm had to knuckle down and get a proper job. I'm working for a substance misuse service at the moment. So working with people with addiction problems, which is good, because I can, the experience I had, I can give back. But I think with that, with a job that's so dark a lot of the times and quite heavy, it's nice to have a bit of light and shade, isn't it? So I find that when I sort of finish that job, it's a 9-to-5 job, Monday to Friday, it's good regular work. But when I come out of that, I want to be silly. I want to do things like this. I want to do comedy, my radio show.
He says that, don't we?
But you know what I mean.
But that's what I'm doing. We're doing the audience.
Well, so, I'm meant to be playing football today, and I cancelled. And I said, and they were like, "Why?" And I said, "Because I'm working." And it is work, but like you said earlier, it doesn't feel like work, does it?
Well, no, that's the whole thing.
And that's when you know.
I know that you and I got on very well. We always have all that, and there's none of that sort of situation. I'll probably have to put this down just in case your worries go down.
It does frighten me. Massively OCD around wine stains. But yeah,
that's the point of doing it. So.
And that's where you know you found your joy, don't you? Because you do something for the love of it. And that's why I was so lucky on the radio, because at no point really did it ever feel like a chore or work. Yeah, it's like, even doing it on a daily basis, it was like, this is a dream,